There he is, the studio.
Actually, I just finished working a little bit on the new songs for the upcoming tour. So I'm a little bit, tired, but good.
Gassed.
I'm very happy to be here, man. I love your drumming, by the way.
Oh, you're too kind. From you, that's the highest compliment. I really appreciate that. Well, I have a long tradition of studio envy, and today's going to be no exception. I can tell. I've had a number of drummers join me on this podcast with amazing studios and amazing drum kits behind them. So I see you've got your full setup there. Where in the world are you joining me from?
I'm in Corinth, Greece, which is about an hour away from Athens.
Mm-hmm.
So this is in the house. This in the ground floor. So this is my big set. You can see. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And right there, it's my fusion kit where I spend most of the time practicing. I don't really practice on this kit. I find it way more exciting and easy to play on it's like well, it started as a 4-piece kit. Now it's like 2 toms, 2 floor toms, and 2 kick drums, which one is an 18, which I play on a slave pedal, double pedal.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like it's growing a little bit, but I want to keep it with one main kick drum, no double bass, just different stuff. So that's where I spend most of my time. But these days, it's we're like 5 days before the tour. I do have to spend a lot of time here.
Sure. How long did you have to shed to get all the material for the new album?
That's a good question because when you're recording, the song obviously. Like for example, you write the song, right? So you get into the song, you go by sections. You're like, okay, I think we got it. Then you get it a little bit more into the song. But as you record for the album, everything changes, like everything. So you're like, oh, I got this idea now. I got the other idea. So then I have to go and relearn what I recorded, which is it's not so fun sometimes, because I remember what I was practicing, but now I played something different, so I have to get familiar with these feels and grooves and, so on. So usually I will break the song in 3 sections and I will practice section 1 and then repeat, and then section 2 and then section 3 and then combine them section 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and then 1, 2, 3. And then the song so well, it's disgusting. Like, the song. So I would say it's 1 day per song. But as I explained, like you play the song like 30 times, So it's a long process. I always dedicate 1 day for a new song, which makes me feel more like secure when we go on the road. I don't want to think my parts. I just want to enjoy the show,
How much of a hand did you have in writing for the new record?
What we do with Carl is like me and Carl, and sometimes me and Brian, depends on, who's writing the songs. They send me a song with maybe some grooves or some more advanced drum parts, and then I have to get into the song, make them mine, like put my parts, like the Nile drums. Then I will make a demo. I will send to them. So technically, I do the drums. I always listen to ideas. I always suggest ideas to change parts. They always suggest me to change some of the drum parts, So I would say it's a process like of 2 people: the guy who writes the music and the drummer. We always collaborate, I never got like a complete song. Like, okay, this is the song, learn it, Like I have to put the drums, that's my job.
And how much do you feel like the music has changed since 2004, I believe, when you first joined the band? Do you feel like there's more that's just sort of understood ambiently between you and the other musicians, that it speeds up the process of writing and learning, and that there's less now that you need to invent from scratch?
Because I was always too good in the beginning. So they were like, oh man, is this too fast for you? I'm like, no. Is this too complicated? No. And then, we kind of raised the bar and we liked where we were going. Like, we're like, man, this is so tech. This is so cool. We have this really complex 8-note riffs, really fast, like 268. It was like, for example. And then I have to play 16s on the top. Sounds really, really intense. So I would say my willing to push myself, make the band to write some more complex stuff. And I think the more we grow, the more complicated we became. You know, it's not too fun sometimes. You know, like I have to really push, really, you know, remember parts. But like I said, you know, maybe this is the reason I'm with the band for 20 years, because, you know, music, sometimes you get bored, you know, playing the same and the same and the same thing all over again, especially in metal. You write the song, you have to play the same song for the next 30 years. Man, this is so boring. I'm definitely not metal in this part. I'm more like a fusion guy. I like to change some parts, you know, like depending on, you know, on my mood, you know, which it doesn't really happen in, especially in death metal, but in metal in general. So yeah, I would say, you know, we like pushing and we like what we do. And every year we become more complicated, which is it's fucked up, you know?
Yeah. The metal, speed metal, prog rock drummers I gravitate to tend to be people who have more eclectic influences, like Matt Halpern, Matt Garska. And I read in your bio that you have a lot of fusion influences, like Vinny and Weckl. And I'm glad I checked out a variety of recordings, because there's your metal stuff, which obviously shows a nice breadth of creativity, but then there are tracks of you playing fusion and soul and sounding like a native speaker, if you will, in those idioms as well. And I also know that you studied jazz when you were coming up. So I'm curious how you went from studying jazz to playing metal, and how you think about those two languages as interfacing.
First of all, it was the opposite. I started playing metal. I got into metal when I was 7 years old as a listener, then 9 to 10 years old as a guitar player. And then let's say my first drum kit, I got at 12 years old. So that was like my whole thing. So it took me like 10 years to start listening to other styles. And that's because I was a metalhead. I just wanted to play metal. I wanted to play my favorite bands, and, you know, just pushing with speed and fast drumming, you know, whatever complicated, you know, like just playing my favorite songs from my favorite bands. But then I started with a Greek jazz drummer. His name is Yannis Stavropoulos. And that was the guy, that was a dude that he completely changed my music education, I would say. So he got me to the fusion stuff. I love his drumming as well. That's where I started, you know, studying jazz. I'm not a jazz drummer, obviously, but I love playing. I love getting into the music more and more. The last 2 years, or maybe the last year, I'm really pushing it with fusion jazz, and it's just fun, you know. I'm not trying to prove anything or something, but it's just, you know, it makes me a better drummer for Nile as well. Now, these things, I don't really find similarities, like except the fact that I explain sometimes we play with Nile and I might change some parts depending on my mood. Well, that's a fusion approach or a jazz approach. Definitely not a metal approach, but yeah, besides that, I would say it's more complicated to finish a tour with Nile and, you know, from all these singles and play loud every night. These things, like, you know, the chops are gone. So then I need a week to get back to drumming. But if I play too much fusion, like, or jazz, or, you know, funk, I really love playing funk. Then I got problems in the metal world, you know. So it's my daily thing. The thing that I'm trying to do is study there, play some of the fusion stuff and funk, and then on the afternoon come here tired and play a set list. That will be the perfect day for me, you know, just to keep the chops on every style, which is impossible to do, but I'm trying.
Interesting. So it's almost like you think of them more as two different languages rather than as cross-training. In other words, the fusion is something you do just because you're interested in it, but not because it necessarily makes the metal drumming better. No,
it's just, like I said, I don't want to get bored. I want something to motivate me to practice more and more and more. So I think going into different styles is the key. And that's one thing I'm pushing my students as well. I'm like, guys, you got to listen to different music. And so far, so good. Everybody's like more open-minded. The metalheads today are way more open-minded than us or older drummers, you know? So
yeah, it feels like there is more crosstalk. And my gateway to a lot of the sort of more modern prog stuff was Tigran Hamasyan. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's an Armenian jazz pianist who does a lot of the sort of math metal stuff within his group. And from there, I started checking out stuff like Periphery and Tesseract, and then it was off to the races. But there seems to be a lot of interest from jazz musicians into metal and prog that you didn't see in previous generations, and vice versa. The one thing I want to come back to is so you went to study with Giannis when you were in college, but you say you came up as a metalhead, so you must have had something inspire you initially to be willing to put in the work studying jazz. What inspired you in that regard?
obviously, guys like Vinny and Dave Weckl and Steve Gadd, like, you know, that's the three guys that you're like, dude. And I'm so proud to consider Dave Weckl my friend. You know, so we hang out sometimes. We have some similar sport habits, you know, like racing, driving, and stuff. But for sure, these guys. But also, I think the main thing was my teacher, because I saw what he was doing live, like in front of me, like in the class. I was like, dude, that's incredible. I want to do this, you know, like the chops and everything, and the phrasing. So I think he was the main reason that I thought maybe I can do a little bit of this, maybe. And what else? He's you know, the way he was passing the education, which is very, very important, you know, because I tried to study with a couple more jazz drummers, and it was a mess. It was a mess. It was so like, come here, sit down, give me your money, bye-bye, you know. I'm like, that, you know, not inspiring. Yannis inspired me so much. And like I said, he's still a great teacher. I always, whatever I do, I always give it to Yannis, especially if I write music. Like mostly I write some funk stuff for my, I call it the brass project, just for fun, you know. And I will send him stuff, and Yannis is my mentor. So, and he's so straightforward. He will say, this is completely shit. Like he will say, I'm like, okay, so come back with another version of something. But yeah, lately I only hear good things. So I might be doing something better. I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I've also heard you're really into teaching, so there's a bunch on that I want to pick your brain on. And maybe an entrance point is, I heard in one interview, you were speaking about constantly having people approach you, and tell me if this sounds familiar, asking how they make their left foot as fast as their right foot. And as somebody who came from the jazz world and who's experimenting a little with double pedal, it was really interesting to hear your response, because I think you said you play the right foot 97% of the time, and when you're using the left foot, it's usually in an auxiliary role. So why would you spend that much time on it? And to me, that resonated right away, because it shows that you have a really sort of logical, utilitarian approach to playing the kit. I'm wondering if you have any other kind of examples of conventional wisdom that you find like a lot of drummers following without questioning, but that you've discovered to be wrong, or that you've discovered like a better approach.
Oh, way too many things. I get a lot of questions about, you know, speed, obviously, double bass. You know, the example you mentioned is like, it's pure logic. Like, okay, that's what I do. For example, same thing with the hands. Like my right hand will do like different motion than my left. My left usually is like the auxiliary one. So, you know, it just follows the right one, and the right one will give the motion. So what I'm trying to pass to them is like, okay, this is the deal. Okay, that's the result, but you need to spend time to get there, you know, because especially in metal, the last years, and that's why I'm losing interest, from my favorite music. It's all bullshit and techniques and shortcuts and doubles and all this stuff, which it takes away the energy. So I don't see many people doing the real thing anymore, which is, well, hopefully some of my students are still doing it. But yeah, sometimes there are some really killer students that they will come here, or what we'll do like via Zoom, and I will see stuff which will make me think again what I'm doing, and then I can explain it a little bit better. So I think this happens like very often. I see people, and it's like sometimes I see like a video of myself, and I'm just learning stuff, or sometimes they explain what they did, and I'm like, oh, this makes more sense, so I can explain to other people. But the result is like I said, I try to pass as much as I can. I had a great teacher, so I think because of Yanis, I'm doing good as well. But the playing is another world, man. I mean, you know it very well. Like if that dude will play, it's a different story. So that's what I always say. Okay, how much time you have? They're like, I have 4 hours a day. Okay, 2 hours you practice. Usually the stuff that you don't have so well. Okay, I mean, what is it like? Going around the set. So go around the set for like 30 minutes. Whatever, 15 minutes and then 15 minutes, whatever. So find the problems you have, solve them. Do the miles. Like that's how you solve it. Okay, just play over and over and over again something, and then you get the muscle memory, and then you can get over it. And then the next 2 hours, play music. So just try to separate 50-50, because many people get it so wrong and either will only play music or only practice. You know how many drummers I know that they practice like 7 hours a day and they can't play a song? Like it's ridiculous, man. It's so bad. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, yeah, I just want to practice, and then what? I'm like, you wait. What do you wait? Like the light from the sky, be like, or the super band to be like, hey, we want to hire you. You gotta climb the steps. You gotta play with the shitty local band, fail, play in front of 100 people, play in front of 3 people. I did that. I felt so proud, like playing in front of 3 people. And it was after a big festival in Vakin, which we played in 20,000 people or something. So that was like 20,000 people. Then local band, 3 people. I thought it was great. And just step by step, do the miles, and then I don't know. I think it's pure logic. That's what I leave. That's what I lived, and there's no way to go to the end. And if you go to the end, well, you fail again because you lose the journey. That if you ask me what is great about this instrument, I will tell you the journey from 12 years old to today. Every single day, I get a little bit better. And, it's a big achievement, so why get to the very end where I'm a professional drummer? I'm losing so many great things.
What do you think somebody gets from playing in a live situation with real musicians that they're not going to get from simply practicing, even if their only goal is to be the best drummer, if they don't care about being on albums or like touring anything?
I would like to say, because the communication. But that's the right answer, the communication with the other members. So, you're on a stage, you look at each other, you listen to each other, and then you just blend and you sound better as a team. But in metal, it's a little bit different because I play on a click track with scratch guitars. So I'm on my own world. On my in-ears, I got click with signatures, because we got a lot of signatures with Nile. So I have to listen to 7, the 11, the 30, like everything. So there's a constant like da 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 da, like, and then I got scratch guitars so I can get a little bit in the mood. I used to play only with click. It's boring as hell, And then of course, obviously my drums, kick drums, obviously toms, a nice blend of the kit. I used to listen to the guitar players back in the day, but what the guitar player will do, because he doesn't have the click track. They don't play on the click track. Usually they will drag the drummer a little bit behind, So we decided, okay, stop listening to us. You lead. And then I'm like, man, it's boring. So I need something. So we do scratch guitars, like a DI guitar, and then I I mix it the way I want. So I got my own distortion. So the frequency is like right for me to hear like the riff like really really clean. So yeah, but then again, I did the other thing as well. I played with other musicians, like some fusion, and man, that communication is like, it's so incredible, it's because like I said, I might try to play a little bit of jazz or funk, for years, but now I'm doing it with some live people and it's out of control, especially if you play with brass people. The energy is like, it's so incredible, but yeah, I think the answer is the communication. Other than that, you just play to a CD like over and over again, and that helps too.
So I want to stray into technique just a little bit, because I think one of the most interesting things to me about metal and prog and speed metal, as somebody coming from the more jazz and fusion side, is just how it pushes every technique to its limit. Like, it's a great laboratory for mechanics, because if something doesn't work under that kind of pressure, where you need to be fast and you need to be loud and you need to do it every night for a long time, like for a long tour, then you can throw it out. It's bullshit. So I'm curious, what things have emerged for you as kind of best practices when it comes, let's say, for hand technique? Like, are there any things that you see students come in with that are like conventional wisdom that you're like, no, this is wrong? Like, experience has taught me this is wrong.
Obviously, depending on the style you play for metal, you're asking about metal, right?
Mm-hmm. But metal as a conduit for good technique in general. And maybe you'll decide to disagree. Maybe you'll say the technique is different. But I'm curious about your thoughts on this whole thing.
I always suggest like a lot of singles, because, that's what we do. We play fast singles, But the problem is, like, some drummers will give everything, like practicing, and the stick high is like, ridiculous, So that's where you burn your muscles. So sometimes you have to do like longer runs, like for example, like 10 minutes singles, but super, super relaxed. So you trigger your reflexes a little bit more, My teacher sometime, he advised me, play at your 70% as much as possible, but at your 70%, and then you push. So that's where I started doing double bass runs, like singles, and my record, this is funny, was 210 BPM for 1 hour and 40 minutes without stopping, which means you're not superhuman or something. It's just, if you can last for like 3-4 minutes, you can go for an hour, because you learn how to relax. So that's my world. That's my relaxation right there, just keeping like 200 BPM, Nowadays, I started doing the same, but a little bit more in a creative way. For example, like I will play some simple accents, some feels like tune, like stuff like that. Just some melody line, like phrases, the symbols. But I also try to keep the endurance underneath. And then, of course, the more busy it becomes, the more I push. And then back to the relaxing. So, yeah, I would say this would be the best thing to do as a metal drummer, just go for long runs. My signature pad from Foot Blaster, I'm not trying to sell the pad right now, but it's incredible, because the Foot Blaster pads, they have the surface for chops. So you're like, okay, parody those, whatever. And then there's a back surface, which is like a really thick pillow. I mean, it's a little bit, a little bit of rebound, but not too much. And then that's like a wrist workout. Man, this is the best thing you can do for speed, for hand speed. It's incredible. I always do that before the show. Just turn it over, like 3, 4, 5 minutes, right there, and then I'm ready. It's so important, because somebody asked me, how did you manage to get fast, with the hands and stuff? Tony Roysters once said he worked on pillows, right? And he practiced on pillows. And I did the same. But then I was trying to explain which specific pillows I used, because If you take a pillow that you're slipping, you will get an injury the first day, like a serious injury, like tendonitis for sure, because there is no rebound at all. So you need a surface with just a little bit of rebound, but not like the drum or the usual pads. That's the reason actually we thought about, the back surface of the pad. I think it's super solid. So yeah, 70% for as long as possible. That's it. Plus, you do the miles. For me, that's super important, man. You just repeat, and it becomes like a, second nature. And then you go live and you're like, oh, that's easy. And you're like, and just push a little bit faster, which everything, that's doable to go faster.
So I have a couple of students and we're working on like push-pull technique, like Clyde Stubblefield funk, like one-handed sixteenths type of thing. And I recently interviewed a teacher named Gordy Knudsen, who I think maybe has the best encapsulation of like really, really efficient double stroke technique. Like he's really broken down exactly what's happening in the hand and everything.
Is it the one with the thumb?
Sort of. I mean, we can talk more about this, but basically like he uses sort of the Murray Spivak stick positioning. So the stick is linear with the forearm. And then practices hitting a downstroke and allowing the fingers to flex to the maximum range of motion, and then retracting the fingers to get the second double in the double stroke. And the thing I like about that is it kind of gives you the best of French and German by utilizing the fingers. And when I notice a lot of the fast metal guys, it feels like they're doing something like that. But it just seems like whatever you guys are doing, you've worked out a lot of the efficiency. But the thing you mentioned about getting to a comfortable tempo, like sort of maybe 25% below your speed limit, and then like over the course of an hour, like nosing up closer to the speed limit and then dropping back down, and then nosing up and dropping back down. And I heard a Mike Johnston interview where he had a great word for that, which was drum tabatas. I don't know if you're familiar with the tabatas with workouts where you'll like go really hard for 20 seconds and then rest for 10. So you do like push-up tabatas where you just get, but I think I liked how that was kind of a universal concept, and it sort of applied to everything.
And one more thing, which is similar to what Mike was doing, the speed thing, because people are like, how do I get faster? How do I get faster? Back in the day, somebody told me, play a little bit faster and then a little bit faster and then a little bit faster. Man, it doesn't work like this. And music doesn't work like this. You got to go double time. So you're like 8 notes, 16ths, or 16ths, 30 seconds. Like I call these explosions. That's a great workout. Like if you play 16ths, for example, like 140 BPM in 30 seconds, then it's super fast. So you have an explosion, and before you die, just go back to normal, or half time. And that's how you build muscles to go super fast, and not by the, like going like 5 BPM, and 5 BPM faster every time, because by the point you did like 3-4 steps, you're tired already. And like I said, the music works this way. Dun, dun, da, 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 bum, bum, brrr, whatever, so it's most times it's double time.
Along those lines, I'm also curious from players who play really efficiently for a long time at high speed and high volume, what have you done to minimize injury risk? Like, were there any times in your career where you suffered an injury? If so, what have you learned from that? And over the years, what have you picked up just in terms of the way you approach the instrument to encourage longevity, we'll say? I
think if you play death metal the traditional way, then I'm saying the traditional way because, like I said, not many players, I think we're like 3% left or less, seriously. For example, the blast, which is like the 8 inches, is like 2 foot, I do 1 foot. So if the song is like one I was practicing before, 260 BPM, that means you play 8 notes with 1 foot at 260. So it's super fast. And then 16ths with singles, not doubles. So if you play the traditional way, there is so much pressure to deliver that 260, 270 blast. It's not coordination anymore. It's pushing. If you do it the economy way with 2 feet. Then it's like a matter of balance. And, that's why a lot of people using like finger technique. So they're like and balancing things. And it sounds like a machine, but it doesn't have balls, in my opinion. That's why I got back to the original one. And I'm like, okay, I'm staying here and I will work my ass to get to that speed and deliver what my favorite drummers did back in the day. Unfortunately, the music changed and I had to go like faster and faster and faster. So I'm still pushing myself. So in that case, you will not avoid injuries for sure. Like this part right here on the shoulder, the inside and the outside, but the inside thing, they are burned for years. My physiotherapist says there's no way we can fix it because I got to stop playing for like 6 months, which is not the case, So I do physiotherapy. I work a lot with rubber bands. How do you call them? Rubber bands, I think.
Yeah, bands.
So now I will take it on tour with me, this thing, because it helps. So I am careful, but I'm also very stupid because all the things I like, they give me pressure here. For example, I ride motorcycles on the track, so that's like number one for injury on the hands. Lately, I got into sim racing, driving, it destroys the hands. So, I think I'm cursed, but I'm not thinking about it. I just play. And if I feel like something is wrong, I will try to play a little bit softer, not push too hard. Maybe change some parts, making them a little bit more easy for that show, but also deliver, help to get the band together and, make help the band to sound better. But like I said, I will never avoid these injuries. So I'm always wishing, for less.
What do you think about the role of grind in learning the drums versus falling in love with it every day? And the reason I ask is that when I talk to great players, obviously everyone's put in a monumental amount of work, but it seems like approaches kind of break down into two rough categories. And one is people who are sort of whimsical, where they're like, yeah, I just woke up every day anew and just was super excited about the drums. And the other who are kind of on the work ethic side, where they're like, nope, I knew this was going to take 8 hours a day for 10 years. I wrote out a routine, et cetera, et cetera. I'm wondering which of those describes your approach more, just to start off.
When I got my first drum set, my progress was so fast. Like it was insane. Like it was like that, like learning songs, playing some impossible songs. Some people in my hometown, they were talking about the miracle drummer or something, the boy like playing Sepultura like in the perfect way. But I mean, it was because I was playing too much. I was trying to I was playing for fun. Like I was enjoying playing Sepultura and Slayer and Morbid Angel and all these bands. So I was becoming better. But then my teacher got me to different styles of music. And then, man, I remember playing for like, working on swing, right? 40 BPM or 80 BPM, trying to feel the swing, make it sound good and groove. So right cymbal and hi-hat 2/4, that was it for like 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, So that was like discovering new things. I'm like, man, this is incredible. It's so much fun. So that was when I started, I couldn't wait to go home and play, but then I couldn't wait to go home and practice or in my studio, my first studio. I think it's a little bit of everything. It's just, drumming becomes a second nature. You're a drummer. You wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm a drummer. I know. And especially the last years, I do everything around music. Like I teach, I got 2 books, I got 2 DVDs. I do last year I did 13 session albums. And I had a really busy schedule with the band, record our album, some clinics, some camps, Zoom lessons, everything. So every day is about drums, which is pretty cool.
Was there ever a period when you thought you might do something other than drums, or have you always been 100% sure that drums was going to be your life?
I didn't want to become a professional musician. I didn't want to be one because I didn't except of course my favorite drummers, but nobody was Greek, But the Greek drummers, the people around me, nobody had a life which back then, which I will be jealous and be like, man, he's living the dream. Nobody was touring. Some people playing in different styles, just like more pop music to get paid, but they hate their lives. So every night they will play for 8 hours and just they hate what they do. So I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I didn't want to become a professional drummer. I wanted to be somebody who has a local band, but they kick ass. They go live and everybody's like, oh, these guys are awesome, and the drummer is awesome, So I was pushing and pushing and pushing until Niall hired me. Then I had to tour, I had to do everything. So then I became a professional player.
Yeah, that makes sense. I want to also touch on your experience teaching and working with students who might have different life experiences than you had. And it's interesting, you mentioned that when you first started playing, everything seemed to come easy. And then even when you were facing challenges with the swing 3 hours a day, like you still relished the challenge in that. To what degree, I'm thinking about how to ask this, because sometimes with students, you have to sort of work with them to find their individual motivation and to unlock what makes it fun for them so that they can find some enjoyment within all the work it requires. How do you approach that with students who maybe have a harder time, at least initially, with the drums than you did when you were first learning?
First of all, I try not to get that deep, because I got enough problems myself, like I got so many things to do, So usually my approach with the students is, first of all, it's not about money. And if you ask my students, I will tell you, it's not like, I don't charge that much. I don't go there and, with a coffee and just look at them and, take their money. Like I'm really honest. Same with the DVDs and books, like everything I did. But you know what? If the student wants to have fun studying with me and getting one step, okay, that's cool. Because back in the day, I used to do that. Like I will insist and try to, and some of the students felt like I was pushing too much. And some of them got scared. And they're like, they stopped the lessons and everything. So I'm like, this is not working. I scare people because I ask them too much. Okay. So right now I'm like, what do you want to do? I want to do this. Okay, look at this. And man, try this concept. And how about this? And they're like so excited. But then I give you all the stuff. Like you got the music sheets. You got I send them videos of examples. Like they got everything. Like everything. So it's their move. That's what I say. That now it's your move. If I see somebody, which I saw many students getting really hungry for something, or they're like really stressed about something, I'm like, I can't do that, man. I'm trying, and what am I doing wrong? Then I will dive a little bit deeper and try to help them. Most of my students, they have my cell number, so we chat on WhatsApp or Viber and stuff. If they have any questions, and that's another reason I'm trying to have less students, because man, I don't have time. Like right now I got 2 solo albums to record and 3 sessions, and I'm living on tour. I mean, there's no way. So yeah, like I said, not pushing too hard, because I know also guitar teachers, and their students said, man, I don't want to study with him again because he's asking too much, So just try to and remember, there are people who want to study with you just to, for the interaction. It's inspiring for them, So I just let them do one move and then we go with it. I don't know. I think it's very unique to each student, I would say.
That's definitely true. What do you think are the biggest misconceptions a student might have if they see your life? Or maybe another way to phrase that would be like, what are the biggest surprises about the way your life actually turned out, the touring, the recording, the clinics, etc., that are different from what you expected, if you will?
I know my favorite drummers back in the day, they were making a lot of money because they were selling albums and blah blah blah, and they were like hot names. Everybody knew that drummer and that drummer. So when I got into Nile, it was the beginning of the end, the beginning of the end. So it was like we stopped selling albums. We're not selling albums anymore. We sell like, man, the ratio is like, incredible. So we used to sell a lot of albums. It gets less and less and less because of Spotify, iTunes, and all this stuff. So that's a loss. I could make more money. That would be good, because I do the hard work already. Like I'm pushing myself and recording and trying to deliver. Some people right now, they talk about the new album and they say maybe it's our best album yet, So that means we really worked so hard, but we're not making money like the bands used to. Another thing, I get to the DVD things. My DVDs are not 1 hour long. My second DVD was 6.5 hours. That could be 3 products. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I will give you this. You will pay for it, but it's going to worth it because that's the way I am. Guess what? The video DVD selling journey went like this because nobody's selling DVDs anymore. My first DVD sold a lot, but like I said, then the whole business goes like that, so again, a loss. So I think there was a lot of things that I would expect a little bit better, but the world is changing and, I didn't taste the good things. For example, like playing in clubs with 3,000 people. Now there are less and less because there's so many bands, or some people going to the streaming, live streaming and all this bullshit, So, I'm still happy, no complaints. It's just, it could be so much better. So that's a big surprise for me.
Oh, that's a really good answer. For me, in my position.
Sorry to interrupt on that spot. This is a great quote. I think Derek Roddy said it. I'm not sure, but he said, remember the Napster thing and Lars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was like, Lars has so much money. What are you doing? Come on, man, you're rich already. So now, I think Derek said it. He said, I will make a t-shirt saying, musicians, they should listen to Lars. They should listen to Lars because, man, he was trying for something back then. Nobody listened. Now, sit there, work for nothing. It is what it is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to bloviate, but I think I'd rather ask you more about the new album. Specifically, what's your favorite thing about the new album?
First of all, it's my favorite album, like every last album, because people say, yeah, you always said to sell albums. Man, I promise you, not me. It's more complete. It's more mature. We spend way more time and having like headaches every day to compose and all this stuff. The production is incredible. Mark Lewis did a great job. So I love the production, but I love how complex things sound in there because we just gave it a little bit more time. And we're like, okay, let's push here, let's push there. What if we don't accent on the one, we accent on the 1E, and like little details. There's a lot of little things that make the difference. Besides the blast beats and the bomb blast, which is, that's what most people listen the first time. But then the more you get into the album and the more you listen into some songs, you're like, man, that's a great detail. So that was the goal. I'm very happy with the new album. And Mark Lewis did a fantastic job. It sounds great. This is the best sounding album we ever had. Yeah,
it sounds like over the years, you feel like you're making small improvements and like, how things went last time. So there are like little details that you can iterate on. So it feels like it's sort of the most complete opus of like putting together all the lessons you've learned over the years.
Yes. Plus we track everything ourselves. Like the drums were done here. Like that's the kit. Like exactly the same kit, same cymbals, same everything. So, it's about getting the best of you. That's it. So how many takes of this part, for example? Because obviously we're recording parts, we don't go one take. If you go one take, it's more like more musical and blah, blah, blah. But this is 2024, and you want the energy from the first second to the last. That's why you hear some of the one take drummers, and they start like, and then, you know, at the end, it's like the volume just drops. This is I used to be one of them. And you know, we had many fights with Niall. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I want to play one take. And they explained to me, man, this is your legacy. You got to give your best to every part. So let's break the song in parts, and no problem. So I will sit here and play one part for, like, let's say 50 times if necessary, to get the best out of me. And then I have a guy who tunes the drums for me. I'm not good on tuning, but we're talking about fine tuning, not tuning, like the best tuning. So he makes this Masterworks kit sound incredible. So that guy will come, you know, on every song, prepare the kit for me, and then leave, and then I record, you know. So we did that for the past 2 albums, and it's such an easy process, man. I get all the time. I'm here with my family. I can go to the grocery shop or, you know, whatever, you know, like for a walk with the dog and everything, and then return with a clear mind. Because I used to travel in the States and stay there for a month or 2 weeks to record. And it's, I mean, obviously it worked, but it's not ideal for me, you know, especially if you have a kid now, the less you're away from home, the best. So yes, I want to keep recording here. And I think it just works the best, you know, with the band as well, because the results of the last 2 albums, which we did in my home, the drums, obviously, they're the best ones. The best sounding albums, drums sounding albums, and best sounding albums as well.
That's fantastic. Well, where would you send people if they want to see you guys on tour?
We're heading to Europe right now. So of course, I want to see everybody there, you know, obviously. But also, this is going to be a 4-week tour, mainly UK, Central Europe, and West Europe. We go down to Portugal, for example, which will be very, very cool. No France dates for some reason, which is really pisses me off. We got a lot of fans in France, and we always go there for 2 or 3 shows this time. But I'm sure we'll do on the second leg, so no problems. But then after this 4-week tour, we come back for 6 days home, and then we fly to Japan. It's very exciting to go to Japan again, Thailand, Singapore. We haven't been there for a while. And then to Australia, which is one of my favorite countries ever. I love Australia. New Zealand as well. Tasmania. This time we go to Tasmania for the first time. So I want to see everybody everywhere. You know, it's not only in Europe, you know. Very, very excited. We got a new lineup. We got a new guitar player. We got a new bass player. I got a new drum tech. We got a new sound guy. Like, everything is new right now. So I'm very, very excited for this tour and for the next ones. And then, of course, 7 weeks in the States with Psychroptic 6 Feet Under. That's going to be a massive tour. And we're going to go everywhere in the States.
Amazing. And where would you send people if they want to follow you or check out more about you? Like, are there any social media sites you want to shout out for your own stuff?
My website is georgekollias.com, obviously, and my Instagram is George Kollias Official. Same with the Facebook, George Kollias Official. I'm mostly posting about my work. You know, it's all drums. So I'm not like a really social guy with like 75 stories per day. You know, like I think I hate this type of use, you know, for Instagram and Facebook. Like, I'm so bored with this stuff, you know. But obviously, I'm keeping in touch with all my fans via email as well sometimes. But man, you know, the real thing that we tend to forget, and I support it more than ever. Come to the show, say hi. You know, like I see many times people waiting for us outside the club, that we go to the bus and we get pictures, we hang out. You know, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, that's a real thing. The social is only if you want to follow and learn where I am, what I do, new music I make, and, you know, stuff like this. But, you know, the real thing is meet with the artist. we're not playing stadiums. It's really easy to find me.
Cool, man. Well, great speaking. Have a great rest of your day.
You too, man. Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.